When my daughter was 12, she said something that made me change my entire theory about parenting and educating kids. When I left my full-time position as assistant professor in applied linguistics and ventured into a position in management, I was quickly humbled by the experience and had to shed layers of my personality. When I started getting the first hunches about opening my side hustle, the transformative education consulting, my ego kept standing in my way and nagging. How are you going to do this? You don't have the skills, the resources, the funds to do it. Who do you think you are? How dare you claim the business word? You are a teacher, and teachers stay in the classroom. You see, change is inevitable, but personal growth is a choice. That's what my mentor Bob Proctor would always say. It's his mantra. But you know, the point I want to drive home today is that change is inevitable, but adapting and adjusting to the requirements of change is no longer a choice. It is a must. Why? Because the only constant in a constantly changing world is change itself. Now let me share with you some of the drivers of change, as the fourth industrial revolution people would call it. The first driver is technology. Today there are 5.9 billion users of technology, and 91% ask a question while doing a task and ask it on Google. Jobs are being replaced by technology. 53% of people of all ages are afraid of being replaced by technology. Around 34% of the workforce today, according to the ELANS survey, do not want to take fixed jobs, the 9-to-5 jobs, and prefer freelancing and working on projects. Now, according to the World Economic Forum report of 2018, an average of 71 of total task hours across several industries are performed by humans, compared to 29% performed by machines. Now, by 2020, this average is expected to have shifted to 58% performed by humans and 42% by machines. The second driver is the impact of technology on the skills needed. According to research in LinkedIn, the top 5 skills companies need most in 2019 and beyond are creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and time management. Again, according to the World Economic Forum, among the top 10 skills needed are emotional intelligence, creativity, and adaptability. Now, what does this mean for the young people who are watching us today? Most of the young people present in here today will be assessed on emotional intelligence when they sit, or by the time they sit for an interview for a job, more than for their IQ. So it's their EQ rather than IQ that is important. Now, one might say, okay, this is great. Now that we know which skills are needed for the next 5-10 years, the next thing is to go in there at schools and teach them. Easier said than done. Why? When my daughter told me my friends had cool parents, I envy her. I knew something deep inside shattered, had to go and be replaced by something new. It's my self-image as a mom and as a parent. It was time for me to explore what cool parents do and change and replace that chip in my software. I had to take inventory of my thoughts, my feelings, my beliefs, my actions, and keep what was working for me and my daughter and leave all the rest. It was like rebirth. There was a time before and a time after that incident. When I stepped into my new job in educational management, I had to let go of some of my old practices as assistant professor in applied linguistics, inherent to lecturing, researching, working with the words, and data, and mainly into the world of interpersonal communication, into exploring the maze and intricacies of the human mind of my colleagues, to be able to better understand them and better help them and serve them. Radical empathy, as Seth Godin calls it, was huge for me to make this happen. I was no longer the same. My self-image received yet another upgrade. When I started my consultancy business, everything in me, my logic, my reasoning, my memory, my upbringing, were siding with the imposter syndrome and the loud voice in my head imploring me not to do it and to stay in the comfort of the 9-to-5 job, except one flash thought of me enjoying myself, doing what I love, and living life on my own terms. That one single thought, where I fused with my desire, was enough to engineer a whole change in my self-image by facing my self-sabotaging beliefs with a simple but powerful question: is it true? I guess the idea I want to impress upon you is that skills and skills training is great, but it is not enough. Why? Because those skills listed in the World Economic Forum do not require a change in skill set. They require a change at mindset level. Take, for instance, creativity. How do you teach someone to be creative in a 60 or 90-minute or even a 2-day workshop or seminar? Doesn't it require first the person seeing himself as creative? I am creative. A change in mindset, and in particular, our self-image, is the name of the game. Maxwell Maltz, in his book Psycho-Cybernetics, says self-image sets the boundaries of individual accomplishments, and that we can never outperform our self-image. Why? Because our self-image is our control mechanism, our autopilot system. That is controlling the way we think, the way what we believe, who we are, and what we are capable of doing. Any change operated at the surface level and that does not take into account a change at the deep root cause of that behavior as human beings is merely wishful thinking. Now, Steve Brazill, America's leading strategist, founder of Hitman Inc. and CEO of Fullbridge, states that the skills we currently have will take us between 3 to 5 years. So the main characteristic of the upcoming era is change, meaning constantly refining, updating, upgrading our mental programs, our mental model, our self-image, by bringing the future into the present and preparing ourselves for it. Buckminster Fuller, America's 20th century avant-garde engineer and educator, says, "You never change things by fighting reality. To change something, build a new model that will make the existing one obsolete." So while creativity, emotional intelligence, adaptability are coming high on the list of priority skills, all of which demanding a self-image change, what would be the ramifications of these new requirements for educational systems and teachers? How is this going to impact parents and the way they educate kids at home? And how are companies going to plan training for their staff? For example, for those of us who are doing the school curriculum, are we providing the dedicated expertise, resources, facilities to hold our students' hand, train them in the skills that are needed in the future? For the best part, I would say, overall, we are. Now, the question that remains is, are we willing to make of our homes, our schools, and our classrooms a safe space for our children and students to take risks, to allow themselves to hit and fail, try and fail, to be messy in projecting themselves in the future until they develop clarity in their mind and create the self-image they aspire to have in 3, 5, or 10 years down the road. In a nutshell, for me, the answer remains in our ability to reinvent ourselves, to learn as we go, and to be always 2 steps ahead of change, to lead it with grace. And that's by being ready, willing, and able to shed the old self-image of ourselves and embrace the new one, the one that will help us navigate the new wave of change with grace. Thank you.